Hello, I'm Valerie Young, board member of Arlington Independent Media. We have been producing conversations with Arlington County candidates so that you can make an intelligent vote. Our next series features candidates for the Arlington County Board. They will be talking with our panel. Karen Bate, founder and CEO, KB Concepts, and the 2022 recipient of the Arlington Women of Vision Award. Saul Reyes, executive director, Bugata. Vivian Williams, Washington Liberty High School class of 2023. In this episode, we will be speaking with Natalie Roy.
What motivated you to run for county board?
There were several reasons, but the big reason was I wanted to run to bring new energy, responsiveness, and transparency to the county board. And the big issue that got me motivated to run was the issue on zoning. And I felt really strongly that the county board wasn't listening to residents. And then I felt that in the old days, it used to be, what can we do for you? And this was more like, this is what we think is the best for you. And I think we should be getting back to more of what can we do for you. So on zoning, that was my big initial reason for running. I felt that was the wrong approach. That was about density for density's sake. It was about letting developers call the shots. And I felt that that was not smart growth. That was not the way that we should be going forward into the future for Arlington. We're already one of the most densely populated counties in the country. And so as a result, and because of my strong environmental background, I felt this was not the greenest approach.
Okay. Thank you. My generation is often overlooked, especially given some of us cannot yet vote. However, we will be the next leaders and make the next big decisions. We believe in inclusivity and solving problems that the older generations could not. How will you help represent and advocate for a generation you yourself are not a part of?
That is true. I'm not a part of that generation, but I do have 3 daughters two are millennials, and one is maybe a little bit probably older than you, Gen Z, but also half millennial.
Right.
So I feel strongly that it is incumbent on us to leave behind something, positive for young folks and for our children. And I do think that going forward, I think one of the things that I can do and others can do on the county board is making sure that we are providing opportunities. So the Teen Network Board and other things that are already in place, I think we can make those more robust. So providing more opportunities for young leaders to come in and intern with county board members and other folks, providing more opportunities for internships that really are impactful. One of my daughters, actually 2 of them, participated in an internship through the schools and through the county. That was really made a big difference in terms of learning about public service. So I think that's really important. I think going forward, I think the young generation is really civically minded, and I take great comfort in that, knowing that going forward, we'll have young leaders that really want to go and do some really good things for the public.
Thank you for that. And what strategies do you believe will be most effective if implementing programs that cater to the diverse economic and cultural and racial community in Arlington, with a particular focus on supporting the immigrant population?
Great question. And I think this goes to every community in Arlington, but I think specifically what you're talking about in terms of looking at the immigrant population to diverse communities. I think that we really do need to increase public engagement opportunities across the board. And that means not only having meetings at the county board offices at 2100 Clarendon Boulevard, but also going out to where the community is. Because we're all busy. Everybody's busy, but there are people working 2 jobs. There are people with families that they can't get away. And I just think it's very important for us to actually go out into the communities and actually hear firsthand what are the issues. And I think that'll go a long way especially for diverse communities, but for every neighborhood in Arlington. And I'd like to see, for instance, one thing I'd like to see us do right away is get rid of virtual open Mondays, where you call in. And that was obviously because of COVID, but I think that now we should be in person.
Thank you.
In 2020, during the peaceful protests that followed the murder of George Floyd on video by police, the Arlington County Police was called to action by the former police chief to protect the president while he made disparaging remarks about the protesters. How do you plan to ensure ACPD has clear guidelines against racial and economic bias while committing to their mission to keep us safe?
Very good question. There's lots of things that I think we can be doing, and I know that we are doing in terms of community engagement and working with police. I think that there's a lot of positive things that are going on right now. I think we can do more, and in terms of working with, police. And right now, one of the other big issues for the police is that we don't have enough folks who are actually applying for these positions, for many, many reasons. And that's a real problem in terms of the county, in terms of overall, just making sure that we're filling those ranks. But I do think a lot of everything that you just talked about in terms of the issues is about conversation, about making sure we communicate. And I do think that the board has a big role to play in being a communicator on that, and making sure that we're all talking, we're all being upfront in terms of what are the big issues, and making sure that we're protected at the same time as we're doing things in a community-oriented way. And again, it goes back to the last question as well. Being in the community is so important, whether it's Lime Park, where I live, whether it's Green Valley, whether it's Lee Heights or Donaldson Run, wherever it is, we should be going out to the community and getting firsthand what people want and and listening. Because again, I do think we've gotten away from the whole adage of, what can we do for you? And I think the last several years it was more like, we know better, we're going to do this for you. And I think that we need to shift.
Mm-hmm. A topic that is not only important in Arlington, but also on a global level is, of course, climate change. How do you plan to approach your role on the county board through the lens of climate change?
So I think it's really very important. It's critically important. Mm-hmm. I have decades of experience. Most of that experience professionally and volunteer-wise is on environmental issues. In fact, I met my husband working for the same environmental group. It was an environmental love story in 1981 on clean water. And he is still saving the world. He is working on climate change on Capitol Hill. So we both know how important it is to focus on climate change on the local, on the state, and on the federal level. It's important. There's so many things that we can be doing. I know it was a step in the right direction for the county to hire a climate policy, coordinator. I think that's super critical. But I think there's a number of things, not the least of which is making sure that our fleets, our vehicles that we have for the county are all converted from gas to electric. I'm big on glass recycling. I'd like to see that come back to the curb. I used to be the glass recycling director for the glass container industry. So I have a very strong environmental ethic, but I do think climate change is really like the biggest environmental threat that we have, and we need to be tackling it. And we can do a lot on the local level.
Thank you.
Definitely. And 65% of Arlingtonians are renters. Mm-hmm. And affordable housing is key to preserving community. And the county board has been implementing the Affordable Housing Master Plan by investing record amounts in the Affordable Housing Investment Fund, the Housing Grants Program, and in eviction prevention. With the recent acquisition of the Barcroft Apartments, what strategies would you use to provide housing to Barcroft residents who are below the 30% of the area median income? And do you have any suggestions on how we can make more affordability at Barcroft?
And I think across the board, we're talking about affordable housing needs everywhere. So I actually think with AFib, we should be doing even more. Mm-hmm. I mean, what we did is not enough. I mean, really, at the end of the day, it was, and I think this is about right, but we were about, I think it was 15 million. I'm trying to remember exactly the actual specific amount, because it was less than what was said because of some piece. But we need to invest more in AFib. We need to do more across the board. And one thing and I'll go to Barcroft specifically. One thing about Barcroft, which is really interesting, is that we've made a promise to not displace any of the 1,300 plus residents that are there, which is great. There's also a lot of mature trees on the site. I would like to see us do as much as possible, not displace anybody, make sure that those trees, like the that we do things in a smart growth and environmentally sound manner. But in terms of like looking at increasing affordable housing overall, I mean, one of the things that I bring to the table is I'm a real estate professional. Been doing real estate for the last 10 years. Changed careers to help pay for my kids' college tuitions. And what I do for a living is I negotiate. And I think that we can be doing a much better job on the county level of negotiating with developers to put in more affordable housing and specifically more units that are 3 bedrooms. And that's specific for families, because families, that's a big need, a growing need around the county, and we should be negotiating more for those types of things.